Every great transformation begins with something small, something so simple that most people overlook it. The truth is, your life is not changed overnight by one massive leap, but rather by the small, deliberate steps you take every single day. That's why the power of daily discipline is at the very core of success. Discipline doesn't need to be grand or complicated. In fact, it thrives in simplicity. A few minutes of focused effort every day, a small, consistent action done with purpose, can alter the trajectory of your life. What you do occasionally adds very little to who you become. But what you do consistently writes the story of your destiny. Think of your habits as seeds. Each action you take, no matter how insignificant it may appear, is a seed planted in the soil of your life. Now, a single seed doesn't create a forest, and skipping a single habit doesn't destroy your future. But the repeated planting of good seeds, day after day, produces a harvest you cannot ignore. Discipline is about committing to plant those seeds even when you don't feel like it, because you trust the harvest that is coming. It's easy to get excited about big goals. Everyone loves the idea of becoming healthier, wealthier, or more fulfilled. But excitement fades, and goals without discipline are just wishes. Discipline is the bridge between desire and accomplishment. Without it, you're left with good intentions that never materialize. But with it, you create momentum that carries you far beyond the limits of motivation. Consider this: reading just 10 pages a day doesn't seem like much, but over a year, that's more than 3,000 pages. A dozen or more books filled with ideas that can reshape your thinking. Saving just a few dollars a day may feel insignificant, but compounded over years, it grows into a foundation of financial freedom. Even 10 minutes of exercise daily, a small act of discipline, can transform your health and energy over time. The power lies in the compounding effect of small, consistent actions. The challenge is that small disciplines are often easy to dismiss. It's easy to say, "I'll skip today, it won't matter." And truthfully, one day doesn't make or break a life. But here's the trap. It's never about one day. It's about the pattern you set. When you let yourself off the hook today, it becomes easier tomorrow. Soon enough, inconsistency becomes the habit. On the other hand, each time you honor your commitment, no matter how small, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Discipline is not about punishment or harshness. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your daily actions with the vision you have for your life. Every time you follow through on a habit, you're telling yourself, "I am the kind of person who takes action. I am the kind of person who creates results." That identity is priceless, because the way you see yourself determines the choices you make. You can never outperform the story you believe about yourself, and discipline rewrites that story. So if you want to change your life forever, don't look for the next big breakthrough or wait for the perfect moment. Begin where you are, with small daily habits that build discipline. Show up for yourself every day, in ways that may seem ordinary at first, but will one day create extraordinary results. The difference between who you are today and who you want to become tomorrow is hidden in the small disciplines you choose to practice right now. The way you begin and end your day sets the rhythm for everything in between. If you want to take control of your life, you must first take control of how you enter and exit each day. Too often, people allow the world to dictate their mornings and their evenings. They wake up to alarms, rush into their day without direction, and collapse into bed with a mind filled with stress and unfinished tasks. But the truth is, mornings and evenings are sacred spaces. They are the bookends of your life, and when you shape them with intention, they transform everything in between. Imagine starting your morning not in chaos but in clarity. The first few minutes after you wake up are the most powerful moments of your day because they program your mind. If you immediately reach for your phone, scroll through news, or dive into distractions, you've handed over your focus before you've even had the chance to set it. But if instead you begin with gratitude, with a thought of appreciation for simply being alive, for the opportunities that await you, you set your mind on a frequency of abundance. Gratitude opens your eyes to possibility. It tunes your mind to solutions rather than problems. A small habit such as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each morning can completely rewire how you experience life. Equally powerful is setting intention for the day. Take just 5 minutes each morning to decide who you will be and how you will show up. Instead of drifting into the day, design it. Ask yourself, what do I want to create today? What kind of energy do I want to bring into my interactions? What small action can I take that moves me closer to my vision? This simple exercise shifts you from living reactively to living proactively. It doesn't take hours, it takes focus, That focus compounds into clarity, and clarity compounds into results. And just as mornings are for preparation, evenings are for reflection. Too many people go to bed with worry in their minds. They replay the mistakes of the day, stress about tomorrow, and then wonder why they wake up exhausted. You can change this with one small habit: reflection. At the end of the day, spend a few minutes asking yourself, what went well today? What did I learn? How can I improve tomorrow? These questions transform mistakes into lessons and victories into confidence. Instead of carrying the weight of the day into your sleep, you release it, knowing tomorrow you get another chance to grow. Another powerful evening ritual is visualization. Before you close your eyes, picture the life you are building. See yourself succeeding, thriving, and achieving the goals you desire. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It simply accepts what you feed it. By ending your day with visions of the life you want, you program your mind to work on those desires even while you sleep. What makes these practices so life-changing is not the time they take, but the energy they create. Just a few intentional minutes in the morning and evening can completely reshape how you experience every hour of your day. These habits give you control over your state of mind, and when you control your state, you control your results. Remember, success is not built in random moments of inspiration, but in daily rituals of intention. Treat your mornings and evenings as sacred appointments with yourself. Don't allow distraction to steal them. Protect them, because they hold the keys to your growth. When you begin and end your days with purpose, you build a life designed from within, not dictated from without. And that, more than anything, is how small habits change your life forever. Your mind is the most valuable asset you will ever possess. It is the starting point of every decision, every habit, and every result in your life. If you want to transform your life, you must begin by transforming what you feed your mind. Just as your body reflects the food you consume, your life reflects the ideas, beliefs, and information you consistently allow into your mind. The principle is simple: what you put in, you get out. If you feed your mind weakness, limitation, and negativity, you will live in weakness, limitation, and negativity. But if you feed it growth, wisdom, and possibility, you open the door to a life of strength and expansion. We live in a world overflowing with noise. News headlines designed to provoke fear, conversations filled with gossip, media pushing lack and limitation. It's easy to absorb this diet of negativity without even realizing it. And yet, just like junk food, it feels harmless in the moment but creates long-term damage. If you're not intentional about what you consume mentally, your mind will default to whatever is most convenient, and what is most convenient is rarely what is most beneficial. The habit of feeding your mind with growth is about consciously choosing what you allow to shape your thinking. It's about taking responsibility for your mental nutrition. Think of it like this: reading 10 pages of a good book every day may not feel like much, but over a year, you've consumed thousands of pages of wisdom that others took decades to learn. Listening to one uplifting audio every day, while driving or exercising, gradually replaces fear with courage and doubt with clarity. Associating with people who talk about ideas instead of complaints exposes you to solutions, not problems. These are small habits, but their compounding effect over time is enormous. Growth happens quietly, almost invisibly, but it shows up unmistakably in the way you think, speak, and act. Your results in life are a direct reflection of your thoughts. You cannot expect a wealthy, fulfilling, and successful life while maintaining a poor, limited, and fearful mindset. The mind must be cultivated like a garden. If you don't plant seeds of growth, weeds of doubt and fear will take over by default. That's why the daily habit of reading, listening, and learning is not optional if you want lasting change. It is essential. Every time you expose yourself to new ideas, you challenge the old beliefs that have been holding you back. Every time you learn something that stretches your thinking, you expand your capacity for success. One of the simplest shifts you can make is replacing passive consumption with intentional learning. Instead of scrolling aimlessly through social media, spend those minutes listening to an inspiring message. Instead of binge-watching empty entertainment, dedicate time to learning a skill, studying a principle, or reflecting on a book that challenges you. The difference is not just in what you consume, but in what it makes of you. Passive input keeps you stagnant, while intentional growth moves you forward. Another powerful aspect of feeding your mind is repetition. Ideas don't take root because you hear them once. They take root because you hear them again and again, until they become part of your belief system. Repetition is the mechanism by which new thoughts become habits of thought, and habits of thought shape your destiny. So when you find a truth that resonates, don't just move on. Immerse yourself in it until it becomes second nature. The mind is like a muscle, it grows through consistent training. Each positive idea, each new perspective, each challenging insight you expose yourself to is a repetition that strengthens your mental framework. Over time, your thinking becomes sharper, your perspective wider, and your belief in what is possible stronger. And when your thinking changes, your entire life changes. So feed your mind with growth every single day. Protect it from the junk of negativity and scarcity. Choose deliberately what you allow into your thoughts, because what enters your mind eventually shapes your reality. Remember this truth: you cannot outperform your mindset. If you want to create a life that expands, elevates, and fulfills you, the small daily habit of feeding your mind with growth is not just important. It is the foundation of everything you will ever achieve. The direction of your life is not only shaped by the habits you form within yourself, but also by the environment you place yourself in each day. No matter how strong your willpower is, you cannot consistently rise above the influence of your surroundings. If you are surrounded by negativity, gossip, and mediocrity, that energy will pull you down. If you are surrounded by positivity, ambition, and inspiration, that energy will lift you higher. Guarding your environment is one of the most powerful, yet overlooked habits you can ever develop, because your environment is constantly working on you, either for your growth or for your decline. Think for a moment about the people you spend the most time with. Their attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors are like seeds being planted into your mind. Without realizing it, you begin to adopt their outlook on life, their expectations, even their limitations. If your closest associations are people who constantly complain, criticize, or settle for less, you will eventually absorb their energy and begin to mirror their behavior. On the other hand, if you choose to surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who celebrate progress, and who live with vision, you will rise to meet that standard. That is the law of association. Proximity is power. Guarding your environment doesn't mean you have to cut everyone out of your life, but it does mean being intentional about who has the most access to your time and attention. Some people can stay in your life, but you must learn to limit their influence. Others should be welcomed closer, because they bring out the best in you. Ask yourself, who in my circle encourages my dreams? Who makes me want to be better? Who speaks possibility instead of limitation? These are the voices you must lean into, because they will fuel your growth rather than drain it. Your environment is not just people, it is also places, routines, and inputs. The books on your shelf, the podcasts in your playlist, the spaces where you spend your time, all of these form the atmosphere of your life. A cluttered, chaotic environment creates a cluttered, chaotic mind. A clean, inspiring space creates clarity and focus. Guarding your environment may be as simple as reorganizing your home, decluttering your desk, or filling your walls with words and images that remind you of your vision. It is about creating a space that supports who you want to become, not who you've been. Another part of guarding your environment is setting boundaries with your energy. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your yes. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could build you. The habit of guarding your environment is really the habit of valuing yourself enough to protect your energy. It is about understanding that your mind is too precious, your time too valuable, and your future too important to be wasted on influences that do not serve you. This small daily habit of being intentional with your environment compounds in extraordinary ways. When you consistently place yourself in uplifting environments, your thinking shifts. When your thinking shifts, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your results transform. You begin to act like the people you admire. You begin to expect more from yourself, and eventually, you begin to live at a higher standard. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. If you want to change your life forever, you must build an environment that makes your success inevitable. Surround yourself with voices of encouragement, spaces that inspire you, and habits that align with your vision. Protect your environment like a treasure, because it is shaping you. Every one of the greatest principles that can completely transform your life is the habit of giving. At first, it might sound counterintuitive. You might think, how can giving change my life when I'm trying to build, grow, and achieve for myself? But the truth is, life operates on a law of circulation. What you give out comes back to you multiplied. Giving is not about losing something. It's about opening the flow of abundance into your life. When you practice the habit of giving, you align yourself with one of the most powerful forces of growth, because you shift your focus from scarcity to possibility, from limitation to expansion. Giving is not just about money, though financial giving is powerful. It's about giving of yourself in all forms. A kind word spoken at the right moment, encouragement offered to someone who's struggling, your time invested in helping someone grow. These are all forms of giving that ripple far beyond what you can see. When you make giving a habit, you train your mind to focus less on what you lack and more on what you already have to share. That simple shift in perspective is life-changing, because abundance doesn't begin with what you receive. It begins with what you release. Most people live with a mindset of holding on. They think, I'll give when I have more. I'll share when I'm secure. But that's not how the law works. You don't wait for abundance to give. You give to unlock abundance. Think of a river. It flows because it is constantly giving, constantly moving. The moment it stops, it becomes stagnant. Your life works the same way. When you cling tightly, afraid to give, you create stagnation. When you release freely, you create flow. This doesn't mean giving recklessly or without wisdom. It means cultivating a spirit of generosity in small, daily ways. Buy someone a coffee. Share knowledge without expecting something in return. Offer your full attention in a conversation. Give credit when it's due. Every act of giving builds a habit of contribution, and contribution makes you valuable. The more value you give to the world, the more valuable you become, and the more opportunities flow back into your life. What's powerful about this habit is how it transforms not just your circumstances, but your character. Each time you give, you're reminded that you are not limited by your current conditions. You always have something to offer. You may not have money to give, but you can give encouragement. You may not have hours to spare, but you can give 5 minutes of kindness. The act of giving shifts your identity from a consumer of life to a contributor to life, and that identity creates confidence, purpose, and fulfillment. Giving also multiplies through unseen channels. The kindness you offer to one person may inspire them to do the same for someone else, creating a chain reaction you may never witness. And yet, life always finds a way to return it to you, often in unexpected forms. A door opens when you least expect it, a helping hand shows up when you need it, an opportunity crosses your path at the perfect moment. These are not coincidences. They are the returns of what you've put into circulation. The habit of giving doesn't have to be grand to be impactful. In fact, it's the small, consistent acts that transform your life over time. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, until giving is no longer something you do, but part of who you are. And when giving becomes who you are, you will never lack, because you have tapped into the endless cycle of abundance. So make it a daily practice to give in some way, big or small. Give with a cheerful heart, give without expectation, and give because you know that in giving you grow. Your life will expand in ways you cannot imagine, because giving unlocks the very best of who you are, and connects you with the best that life has to offer. The words you speak to yourself every single day are quietly shaping your future. Most people don't even realize it, but the inner dialogue running through their minds is the foundation of their beliefs, their actions, and ultimately their results. If you want to change your life forever, one of the most powerful habits you can build is learning to take control of your self-talk. It may seem small, but the way you speak to yourself becomes the lens through which you see the world, and that lens determines whether you see possibilities or limitations. Think for a moment about how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Do you say things like, "I'm so stupid," or "I'll never get this right"? Every time you do, you reinforce a belief of inadequacy. On the other hand, if you say, "That was a mistake, but I'm learning," or "I'll find a better way next time," you plant a different belief, one that empowers you to grow rather than shrink. It's not the event that defines you, but the story you tell yourself about it. That story becomes your reality. Your self-talk is like a soundtrack playing in the background of your life. If that soundtrack is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, it will drain your energy and sabotage your actions. If it is filled with encouragement, strength, and vision, it will lift you, guide you, and push you forward even in difficult moments. The habit of mastering your self-talk is not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing language that gives you power over those problems, rather than letting them have power over you. This habit begins with awareness. You must first notice what you're saying to yourself. Pay attention to the thoughts that run through your mind when you wake up, when you face a challenge, or when you're alone. Are those thoughts moving you forward or holding you back? Once you become aware, you gain the ability to change them. And the smallest change in language can make the biggest difference. Saying, "I can't," closes the door. Saying, "I'll figure it out," opens one. Saying, "I'm not good at this," keeps you stuck. Saying, "I'm getting better at this," sets you free. Another way to take control of your self-talk is to use affirmations. Repetition of empowering statements rewires the mind over time. When you affirm daily, "I am capable, I am worthy, I am disciplined, I am focused," you are not simply saying words, you are reshaping your identity. The subconscious mind accepts repetition as truth, and what you repeatedly tell yourself eventually becomes your belief system. Those beliefs drive your behavior, and your behavior creates your results. Guard your self-talk carefully, because the world will try to feed you its own narrative. There will always be voices of doubt, criticism, and negativity around you. But if you build the habit of speaking powerfully to yourself, those voices lose their influence. You become grounded in your own inner voice, a voice that affirms your potential and reminds you of your strength. Remember, you will never rise above the opinion you hold of yourself. If you believe you are limited, you will act in limited ways. If you believe you are powerful, you will act in powerful ways. Self-talk is the bridge between belief and action. The words you repeat daily form the beliefs you carry, and those beliefs guide every decision you make. So start practicing this habit right now. Replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Replace doubt with determination. Replace fear with faith in your ability to grow. Make it a habit to speak to yourself as if you were your own best friend, because you are with yourself every moment of every day. If you wouldn't speak to a loved one harshly, why would you do it to yourself? The habit of taking control of yourself talk may seem small, but it is one of the most transformative habits you can build. Over time, it creates unshakable confidence, resilience, and clarity. It allows you to see yourself not as someone limited by the past, but as someone capable of creating a powerful future. When you master your inner voice, you master your destiny.